Hey there. Just wanted to come on here and just discuss some of the last few posts that I've been making. Because I know to me it seems super simple. This is how I've been thinking for the last 20 years or so. And I think it's really helpful for detaching emotion when we get really stuck in our stuff. And that's part of the problem. Like, why is it that when we have other people come to us with their problems and they're very upset and disturbed, they share what's going on for them. And whilst we feel empathy for them and we feel bad for them, it's very easy for us to see what's actually going on because we're not emotionally attached to it. And so in that's often why, we would go to therapy, because if our friends and family aren't able to help us in the situation that we're in, we're looking for somebody that can be super objective and help us. So when we go to therapy, that's usually where that comes in, is that you're paying someone to just listen to you without having any bias, who can give you the honest truth about what they see. They don't have any skin in the game for you. They're not on your side. They're there. You're paying them to be truthful and honest. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could actually do that for ourselves? But it's very hard to do that for ourselves because we're always emotionally attached. So it's about coming up with a methodology where you can actually separate yourself so that you can see clearly. Hi guys, I've just seen some of you have joined in here. Ale, here. I'm just hanging out. I'm just going to talk about some of the posts that I've been making in the last week or so, because I know some people find that really hard to get the concept. Please feel free to jump in with your questions and comments or things that you're struggling with, and we can go through them. Hi, Danny. I will go through some of these. If you have questions, I'll stop what I'm talking about and I'll comment on what you're putting in here. But the main thing is, I'll get on with it, is that the bottom line is life is empty and meaningless. Like, everything that you experience outside of your physical skin suit that you're in, it's all empty and meaningless. All it has, the only meaning that it has, is the meaning that you put onto it from what's inside. So you have thoughts inside and you project them outside, and that's what you give meaning to. Does that make sense? If I'm not making any sense here, then please say in the comments and I'll look out for you. But this is the point, is a lot of the pain that we're in different situations, it could just be a frustration or an irritation with things that you do or with people in your life. But the pain, we're so used to saying, oh, they hurt me, or they did this to me, or this person's pissing me off. But ultimately what's really happening is that they're just out there doing what they do. People are peopling outside of us. The problem that happens is where we take what they're doing into our brains inside of us, and we make up a meaning. We make up what that means in our heads. And that story that we tell ourselves about what is happening outside of us is what's really painful. A really good example of that. Hi, Dominic, Angel, Rubes, see you all there. The problem, here's an example. So let's say you are waiting for somebody to call you or text you or come and meet you. Okay, so let's say it's someone you're very fond of. Maybe it's a partner or it's a friend. And they tell you that they're going to be there at 8 o'clock, or they're going to call you at 8 o'clock. And 8 o'clock comes around and it doesn't happen. And so, you're kind of wondering, because you put the time aside to be there at 8 o'clock, and now it's 8:10, 8:15, nothing's happening. Now just stop and think, where is your brain going? The fact of the matter is, you made an agreement to get in contact with someone at 8 o'clock. Now it's 8:15 and they haven't made contact. That's literally all that's happened. But think about what goes on in your head when you're sitting there waiting. Where does your brain jump to? Does it jump to, oh my gosh, they must have been in an accident. Oh my gosh, let's start calling the hospitals. Does it go to, this person is cheating on me as a friend or a partner. They must be with someone else who's far more interesting than I am. I knew it. I knew they weren't going to show up because, obviously I'm not good enough and this is what everyone does to me. So this is what they're going to do. They're not going to show up. Are you not even caring because you're so busy, you haven't even realized what the time is and you're getting on and you're doing your stuff? Or are you thinking to yourself, okay, well, I know this person. Really, it's not that important. We can talk anytime tonight. You have to start thinking about where does your head go in these situations. That's just one example. Can any of you relate to this? If you can, just say yes in the comments. If anyone has a better example that you want to use, just type that into the comments here, and I'll take a look at that. But I want you to recognize when I talk about your story, it's the story that you tell yourself in your brain every time something doesn't go the way that you want to. Does that make sense? So what's really upsetting us in an upsetting situation is our own expectations. We have an expectation that somebody else is going to do or say something. And then when that doesn't happen, we get upset. So we mistakenly think that we're upset with the person that didn't do what they said they were going to do. But what we're actually upset about is this story that we now tell ourselves about it. And you really, really need to start listening and becoming aware of the story that you tell yourself. Is that story always, I knew it. See, so-and-so let me down again. Like, I always get let down. I'm not worth it. I knew they would cheat on me. I knew they wouldn't show up for me. They must not like me. I'm not good enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not funny enough. Nobody ever calls me. Does that make sense? Do you hear that? Do you hear that in your voice? Is that the story that you tell yourself? Or do you go into panic? Oh my gosh, I wonder what's happened. I wonder if they've been in a car accident. Oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. Are they in the hospital? I wonder what's happening next. What do I need to do? I'm going to panic. So is it that the kind of story that you tell yourself? Hi, Vic. Hi, Adolfo, Pancasito, Alejandra. I see you all there. Hello. Feel free to comment as I'm talking. I'd be really interested to hear your comments. I think I'm doing this right. I'm just checking here just to make sure that I am actually seeing you all. Yes, I am. Dr. Bob. There you go. So think about this. Whoa. Wow, my phone just fell off my tripod. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see if we can get this back up again. Oh, man. So, yes, let's think about the story that we tell ourselves when things don't go the way that we expect. Because it's that story that will show up in every single situation that we have. And this is how you can start to see where you are in control of the quality of life that you have, where you are in control of the relationships that you have. If you feel like you're in a pattern of connections and relationships that make you feel crappy, if you never feel good enough, then you need to start thinking about what is the story that I tell myself in my head all the time, because that is what is going to attract certain people and situations into your life. Does that make sense? And can I get a thumbs up here if anybody is following along here? So it's up to you to create what you experience in the world. What you have inside of you has nothing to do with what's outside of you. Everything outside of you is just happening. Life just is. Do you often hear people say that? And maybe that's frustrating to you. It's like maybe something bad happens to you and you're complaining about it to somebody and upset about it. And someone says, well, it just is. And you feel like you want to punch them in the face. Because the reality of that is it just is. Everything outside of you, this skin suit, you have no control over. Like absolutely none. You cannot control anything outside of you. The only thing that you can control is what's inside of you. And it's your thoughts that you think, that you choose to think, consciously or unconsciously, but the way that you feel about everything around you is because of your own thoughts. It's your own story that you keep telling yourself. So if you don't like the story, if you don't like the way that you are perceiving your life around you, if you don't like that, then you need to start changing your thoughts. Now, where do your thoughts come from? Where do your emotions come from? We'll take this apart in a second in an example. But your emotions come from a belief that you have. Because if you didn't have that belief, it wouldn't spurn an emotion. Carlos, thank you so much for all the likes. Appreciate it. Thank you. And Vic there too. If you guys have any questions or comments on this, I would really appreciate it, because then we can get some dialogue going. And maybe I'll just repeat myself a little bit here, just to keep the conversation going as people are coming and going. Hey Pookies, see you. So yes, everything that we experience outside of our skin suit, this body, okay, so everything outside we can do nothing about. People are gonna people, murderers are gonna murder, lovers are gonna love. Everybody's just gonna do what they're gonna do. You have no control over anything. All you have control over is your thoughts about what is going on outside. So if your thoughts are always very negative, then you're going to have very negative emotions. You're going to feel very depressed, very miserable, very down, because you have a belief somewhere underneath that that tells you that in the past something happened that didn't go well for you. And so you're going to keep choosing to believe that and bring it into the now. And what do you create in the now? You create more of that. So you have to change your thinking. And, you know, as human beings, when we're really young, we absorb a lot of stuff and we're not aware of what we're absorbing and taking on. Okay, like we don't know any better. And so we take a lot of stuff on unconsciously and we keep carrying it around. I guess kind of like a, you know, like a backpack or something on our backs. We keep carrying it around. And at some point, a reaction that we had to something that happened very negatively when we were little, we had a survival mechanism that kicked in and saved us from that situation. So maybe it was, I don't know, we went to school and maybe somebody mocked us or was bullying us. And so we realized that the way to get away from that was to just get angry and scream at everyone, shut up, leave me alone. And then suddenly everybody stopped doing it. So that was a survival mechanism. It worked for you when you were in the classroom at school. Okay. And because it worked, you kind of kept that in your backpack and thought, great, next time somebody says something I don't want to hear, I'm going to scream at them, shut up, you know, and get mad. And that will make them stop. Well, how does that work for you when you're 25, 30 and you're in an office or you're in your workplace or you're dealing with customers in a customer service role and somebody says something to you that you don't really like or you don't appreciate or you're not in the mood for? And your instant reaction is to start screaming and jumping up and down saying, shut up, leave me alone. Do you think that's going to go well for you? Do you think that reaction is going to go well for you when you are in a relationship with someone that you really care about and things happen as they always do, but you hear something that you don't like and your reaction is to scream at your partner, shut up, I don't want to hear you, leave me alone? It's not going to bode well for you. So what may have worked for you in the distant past, which was a survival mechanism and did work, great, isn't necessarily going to work for you now you're much older. So if you keep getting the same results through your life, if you start realizing that you have patterns and cycles where you keep getting the same feedback, or maybe you keep getting into arguments, or maybe you can't resolve arguments, it's up to you to start looking at what is the reaction that you're having. What is it that you do now that's causing a problem? And the only way to do that is if you're really self-aware. That's awesome. If you can genuinely look at yourself objectively and go, whoa, you know, that didn't go well. What was it that I did there that created this? If you can do that, brilliant. But if you can't, it's up to you to start asking questions and get curious about how did we get here? Often we ask ourselves the question, why? Why can be a great question when you're brainstorming and trying to be creative and come up with things. But when you're trying to change a behavior, asking the question why doesn't necessarily help you. Why may shed light on what it is that you're trying to understand by asking, why does this keep happening? But ultimately, it doesn't get you on a new path, because the question that comes after that is, well, then what do I need to do next? And how do I do that? What and how are action words. And so even you can ask why for years. You can go to therapy and keep asking why, and get an understanding. And that's great. But it doesn't change how you're going to move forwards now and in the future. Because what you've got to do is, what do I do differently? How do I get there? Those are the two questions. So this is what I like to do in my work, is to stop focusing on the why and to start focusing on, how did I get here? How did that happen? What do I need to do next? It's kind of like a recipe. Imagine you're baking a cake and you follow the instructions on the cake, and the cake comes out and there's something about it that you don't like. Maybe it's too dry. Maybe it's burned. Maybe it's too wet and soggy. So what's the first thing you do after throwing it away and getting irritated? Is you would go back and look at the recipe, and you would look and see where you took a step and went wrong. So maybe you cooked it for too long. Maybe you didn't add enough of a certain ingredient. Maybe you were supposed to stir slowly and you were whipping it up in a frenzy. So now you can start to see why the cake didn't come out as it did. And so that's what we need to do with our own stuff too. When we're having issues in our life, we need to start, we can question why did that happen? But really what we need to be thinking about is, how did that happen? How did I get here? What is it I did that led me here? Because remember, if you weren't there, you wouldn't have had the problem. I had that in another video of mine I posted on my profile, which was, why is it that whenever you have a problem with something, you are always there? Because why do you have a problem? You and I can be in the same room, in the same circumstances, have the same things happen to us, okay? And then something happens and we have completely different reactions. And why is that? Because you may be emotionally attached to something that happened in that room, and I'm not. I'm objective. It didn't affect me because I don't have any triggers. I don't have any beliefs attached to that thing that happened, but you do. And that changed your whole experience. And this is what I mean about, you cannot change what's outside of your skin suit. Everything out there is happening all the time. Nobody is wrong. Everybody is just, people are peopling. Animals are animaling. Murderers are murdering. Everybody is just doing the things that they do. The thing that creates the experience that you have is your thoughts about what's going on. So if we were sitting down at a cafe outside on the street and we're drinking coffee, and all of a sudden a man goes running past really fast, and then another man goes running past after him, what's the story? We have no idea what's going on, but we're going to have very different opinions of what's going on. You might think that the first man is running away from the second man because the first man is in danger and the second man is after him. I might look at that and think that the first man is running away because he's the bad guy and the second man is trying to chase him to catch him. They could both be running away from a crime scene that they were part of, or they could both be running to get help because there was a crime scene. We don't know. We don't know what happened, but the story that we create in our heads is how we'll look at everything. If we're super suspicious because we didn't have a lot of trust in our lives, we're going to start being suspicious about everything. Is this making sense to you guys? Everybody's in and out, obviously. People are jumping in for different things. So I'm just going to keep chatting. But if you guys have any questions here or any comments that you'd like to make with regards to, why is it that I have certain patterns in my life? Why is it that certain things don't work out? Why is it that sometimes I feel really sensitive about things and I have a snap reaction to stuff? So I'm just going to look at the comments here and just see where everybody is. Who we got? Oh my gosh, I've been chatting away. There's lots of people. I don't know if you're all still here, but let's see. We've got David, we've got Ludi, Santiago, Austin Corp, Hey Boy, Adriana, Adan, Gex, Orain, Quacks, MJ Speed. Hi, I'm good. Thank you. You too. Giovanni, Sombra, Tana. Hi guys, I see you all there. You're just jumping in. Just here talking about why is it that stuff keeps happening to us? Do you find yourselves in a loop ever? Do you feel like when you're dating that you keep having the same issues when you date and you're starting to get a little bit jaded? Do you find that you keep having the same frustrations with your parents, or maybe it's with your kids, or it's people that you work with, where you just get so frustrated that people just behave the way that they do? And sometimes that just really gets to us, you know? It's like you just don't want to get up in the morning, you don't want to go to work, you don't want to see certain people. Or maybe you keep clashing with your partner and having the same arguments over and over again. It's patterns. And patterns can be broken, and it can be really, really simple. So that's something that I teach and I talk about all the time. So if you have any questions around that, then please just pop them down there. You can type a question in at the bottom here. I'm happy to. Hi, I see. Marlon, Edwin, Mike, Miguel, Tana, Gloria. Oh, Gloria's Clays. Hey, I see you all there. Hi. So yeah, so that's the bottom line. I'll recap what we just talked about. My thought here is when you are getting really stressed and frustrated in different situations in your life, you need to remember this one thing. Life is empty and meaningless. Life outside of your skin suit is empty and meaningless. The only meaning it has is the meaning that you give it. Do you see that? If you were holding a cuddly toy that maybe you've had since you were a little kid, and I grabbed it off you and I stamped on it, you see the different reactions we'd have? You'd be really upset and probably want to punch me out, and I might be laughing at you and going, what do you mean? It's just a stuffed toy. It means nothing. It is a stuffed toy. But the meaning that it has is the meaning that you gave it. It's very sentimental to you. That soft toy will bring up memories of things that are important to you, that you have beliefs around. And it's like me stomping all over your beliefs. Okay, so that's what we do with everything, right? Hi, Elvio. Hi, Didier. James, I see you. Interesting surname. Yeah, so really everything is, it's not what happens to us that is the problem in our lives. Like we talk about our trauma, put that in inverted commas. We talk about issues, the reasons why we do things, the reasons why we have problems, and we're like, oh, it's because of what happened to me. Yes, but it's not what happened to you that's creating the problems and the pain. It's your thoughts about what happened that is hurting you. You see, if let's say you're upset because somebody beat you up when you were younger. They, were hitting you, and you got beaten up, and you were very upset and very hurt by that, physically and emotionally. Now, I get it. That's a traumatic thing that happened. But is it still happening now? Are the people still holding you and still punching you in this very moment? No, they're not. So it's not that that's hurting you still. It's your thoughts about what happened. Does that make sense? It happened in the past. In the moment it happened, it was physically and emotionally upsetting. But once it stopped, then it was your thoughts that continued to hurt you. It was your thoughts about what happened that you keep replaying in your mind. Every time you think about what happened, you get upset because you haven't processed what happened. Once you process something emotionally, you emotionally purge and you process that, you don't feel upset anymore. You remember what happened. You can't erase your memory, but you're not attached to the feelings that you had then. Does that make sense? So when somebody is, for instance, if you get with somebody, let's say you get a new partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, and they start talking about their ex, it's a really good test to be able to ask them questions and see how emotionally charged they are about what happened in their last relationship. Because if they're constantly talking about them and like, oh, they did this, they did that, and it was awful, and da da da, If they're still in that frame of mind, they haven't processed that relationship yet. That's something you might want to think about before you get involved with them. Because the reality is when you've truly processed something, you don't feel the pain of it. You remember what happened, but you don't feel the pain that was there because you've detached from those emotions and detached from those beliefs. And the test of that is, think about something that you did when you were a kid that maybe everybody laughed at and you were just absolutely mortified and you just never wanted to face anybody ever again. And now it doesn't bother you at all because you're an adult and you just think it's funny, and you think it's funny how upset that you got at the time. Well, that's because you've processed it. You've matured. You've allowed the feelings to process. You see how the world really is versus how you thought it was when you were little. And that's why it doesn't hurt you anymore. So time can help with processing emotions, but so can actually looking at things and letting them go and understanding them. If you already have the understanding that it's your thoughts that hurt you about things, that life is empty and meaningless, except for the thoughts that you give them. If you get that, then you can process much quicker. People will spend months and years in therapy trying to process an incident of what happened. And really, like, the way to let go of things is up to you. You can let go of an attachment to an emotion as quickly as you choose to. But you have to know that that's what you're doing to start with. And that's what I'm pointing out here. It's something that's very, very simple. Life is empty and meaningless. It's just the attachment that we give it. We attach our emotions to something and then we make it mean something. Because, you know, your attachment to, let's say, your car or your favorite pair of shoes or a restaurant that you go to, you might have a huge attachment to it because it's filled with meaning, because you might think about who was there when you went to that restaurant, who rode in your car, who complimented you when you wore those shoes. You now have an attachment. You have a belief in your head that because you did those things, it must mean something. And you like that feeling, which is why you're attached to it. Now, if I get in your car and I don't give it any respect, if I go to the restaurant you went to that you love and I say, I think that was crap, I didn't like that, you're going to feel upset. And you're going to get upset at me because you believe that I'm the one delivering the bad news that's upsetting you. In actual fact, all that's happening is I'm just out here. I'm Kirstying. People are peopling. I'm just doing my thing out here that I'm perfectly allowed to do. You're the one that's taking it personally and having feelings about what happened. That's you. That's your stuff. It's your thoughts about what is happening that's upsetting you. So here's another thing. There's two ways of being. I'm going to tell you this right now. I want you to think about this for the rest of the day. As a human being, you have two modes of operation. Two. You are either happy and at peace. If you're happy and at peace, say yeah. In the comments, just say yeah. If you genuinely feel happy and at peace, just say yes in the comments. Or send me an emoji, whatever, in the comments here. So I'll ask you again, do you feel happy and at peace right now in this moment? If the answer is yes, just pop a comment or an emoji in the comments here. Okay, well, if you do, that's awesome. That means that you're in the present. You're happy and at peace. You are just here and life is happening around you and you are observing it unaffected. That's truly awesome. That's where we want to be. If you're not happy and at peace right now, it can only mean one thing. It means you are in your story. You are in a story about something that is going on. You are telling yourself a story about something that's happening in your life. Does that make sense? Because you're upset about something, or you're irritated by something, or you're frustrated by something. And what it is that thing is just thinging. It's just doing its thing out there. It's not affecting anyone because it's doing its thing, and everybody is paying attention to it or they're not. But you have taken that to mean something to you. You've taken that thing to mean something that's uncomfortable for you. So ask yourself, what is the story that you're telling yourself about this thing or this person or this incident? and listen to the story, because it's only your story. You're the only one that's telling it right now. All right. So if I give you an example, maybe it's your mom or a parent, anybody. Let's keep it as a parent. You're upset with your parent right now because in your head you've decided that because they are saying no to something or because they're not joining in with something, you have now made up a story about that. Does that make sense? And the story you've made up is upsetting you. You're pissed off because you've created a story around that. And the reality is do you actually know what's going on? Have you actually questioned your parent to find out what it is that's going on that you think is so bad? Because I'm going to bet you that if you had that conversation, you would realize, if you actually truly listened, that you're going to learn something different. And it's going to be different to the story that you're playing in your head. But the reality is that you play this story a lot. You play it a lot with lots of different things. It's not just your parent. You do it at work. You do it with your partner. You do it with your friends. Because that's the story of you. And it's the one that you choose to keep telling about everything in your life. And because of that, your life is like a filter. You're wearing these glasses with the story of, I'm not good enough, or no one listens to me, or what I have to say is not important, or nobody really cares. And when you put that filter on, you see the whole world like that. So you're going to start looking for things that prove you right. You're going to keep looking for that story. So every time you go into a shop, what happened to my mouth there? You go into a shop to buy something, someone jumps in front of you in the line, and immediately you're like, see, I knew it. There's the story. No one cares about me. They think they can push in front. You're going to start finding things happening all the time. And if that's the case, that's what I invite you to do, is to look at the pattern, look at the story you keep telling yourself, and ask yourself, if I changed my story, if I changed my beliefs, how would that affect my day? How would that affect my relationship with my partner, with my parents, with my kids? Because remember, every time you have a problem, you are always there. Remember? That's how it goes. And once you know that, then it's really, really simple to get yourself out of it. Because remember, there's only two ways of being. One, you're either happy and at peace. And if you're not happy and at peace, you're in your story. So that's my message for you that's my message for you today, is to question every time you feel your energy drop, your mood drop, every time you start to feel like you're getting pissed off, ask yourself, am I happy and at peace right now? If the answer is yes, hey, go enjoy. That's where we need to be at all times, always in the present, always happy, always at peace, always observing and not getting caught up in what's out there. If you're not, it means you're in your story. You're happy and at peace, or you're in your story. If you're in your story, your next question is, what is the story I'm telling myself about this particular moment? That's the thing that you need to question. Once you know what that is, that's what you need to go and work on. And that's how we do personal development. We make ourselves aware of what we keep telling ourselves about the things that keep happening to us. And I promise you, I will absolutely guarantee this, is that if in that moment your story is, just as an example, nobody cares about me, I always come last. That's the same story you are going to be telling in pretty much every single thing that ever happens to you when you have a bad day. And so you're going through life with this constant movie playing that says, I'm not good enough and no one cares about me. You're going to go into work doing that. And guess what? You won't go for promotions. You're going to start feeling like things are unfair. You're going to get irritated thinking that people get seen more than you do at work, because you have the story playing of, I'm not good enough and nobody cares about me. Every relationship you get into, you're going to be looking for evidence that this person you're in a relationship with doesn't care enough about you because nobody cares about me and I'm not good enough, because that's the story that you always play. Does that make sense? That's what's always going to get to you. And you know what? If you drink, or if you like, I don't mean you're drunk or anything like that, but if you like to drink, I believe that alcohol and money make you more of who you are. They really do. They emphasize everything, alcohol and money. So I'm going to bet that if you're that person that thinks, has the story playing that I'm not good enough and nobody cares about me, you have a few drinks and that's going to get bigger. You're going to be the sorry drunk. You're going to be the upset drunk. You're going to be the one that no one cares about me. You're going to be the one that thinks that your partner doesn't care about you. That's what you're going to do. So all of that to say, I'm going to round this up right now. 2 things. 1, are you happy and at peace right now? Yes or no? If you are, fantastic, enjoy it. And if you're not, the only thing that can mean is that you're in your story about whatever it is that's upsetting you. Go question what it is that you keep telling yourself. I'm going to be doing a lot more lives. I'm going to be coming on here as often as I possibly can to talk about all of these things. If you want to know more or you want to know when I'll be coming on live, I would ask you to please follow my page because I'll be putting updates on there. There's lots of free videos and info if you're interested in your own personal development and having better relationships with yourself and with other people. And then as this grows and as this community grows, then we'll get more in depth. And then if anybody wants to come on one-to-one and be interviewed or talk about a specific issue that you have, we can do that as well. So thank you for joining me. Super appreciate it and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks so much, guys.